go live. Pulling up my notes. It is Weekly Scrap, number 61. Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance. Special guest tonight is Ljay Geist. He has been working in the fire service since 2009. Currently works for two separate fire departments, one full-time, another part-time. Starting in 2017, he began to participate in the 110 for the 343, which is a mission to climb 110 stories for every FDNY member lost on 9/11. He has currently completed 138 of those climbs, which is a staggering 15,180 stories in full gear. He's an advocate of training, a student of leadership, culture development. He contributes regularly to the training officer the Facebook page training officer. And I met him at the Mid-America Fools Conference, and instantly we hit it off. And so my pleasure to have you on as the guest of Weekly Scrap number 61. Welcome, Ljay Geist.
Orly, thank you, man. I can't begin to tell you how humbled I am to be on this show with that you've had. Man, I'm stoked to be on here, and I'm not half the man and half the firefighters, the guests that you've had on here, but we're going to have a good time and talk about some real life stuff, and it's going to be good. So I'm honored and fortunate to be on here, Corley.
You are too humble, and that is why you are on here, and I appreciate it, and it's very crazy. To everyone watching live, if you have questions for Ljay or myself, as always, do not hesitate to ask. Throw them in the chat so that we can answer them and contribute to the scrap. Did I miss anything in the bio? Anything you want to add?
No, man, I think you pretty well hit it. Let's get this thing rolling.
All right. Then I'm going to kick it off with the same question I've been kicking off the scraps for most of this year, which is the craziness of 2020. How has it affected you, especially the stair climbs? Has it slowed it down? Talk to me about 2020 and how it's affected you in the fire service.
Man, you know what? In between COVID and the elections and the politics and all the BS going on, man, you know what? You can either let that stuff affect you, or you can move on with life and just live it. And life's too short to get all copped up and cooped up in that kind of junk. So, you know, we went on vacation last summer with a bunch of family and friends to Branson. Had a great time. You know, we had to wear a mask. It was crazy there. We've just been living life. Took some guys out pheasant hunting out in western Kansas here a couple weeks ago. You know, so we've just been living life, and we've adapted to it. We've overcome it. It's affected all of us. Everything has. It's affected everybody. But you know what? We're just pushing through it, and I'm just trying to be a husband and a dad and a firefighter and a friend and a son, and that's all I can do. And when it comes to stair climbs, well, you know, I signed up for Tulsa and Wichita this year, and both of them got canceled. And It is what it is. You can't blame those cities for canceling something like that. It doesn't look very professional when you have a group of firefighters showing up to a stair climb and nobody's social distancing and wearing masks and different things. So you certainly can't blame those people for doing something, you know, for canceling those events.
Sure.
It just, you know, I've never been on an election or a committee, I guess, the committee to do something like that. You know, those people put in a lot of work year round to make those stair climbs what they are. And so for more than anything, I hate it for them, for the hard work that they put into it, to have something like that be canceled.
Right on. So has it set you behind your schedule? Do you have a schedule on the one? Which we'll get to the 110 for 343. Did you have a goal to get them done by, though?
You know what? Every time I set a goal, Corley, it just seems like it gets pushed farther and farther back because, you know, I'm in between the firehouse and a part-time job, and I'm studying to get my personal trainer certification right now. My kids are learning from home. It just seems like there's always stuff pushing it back. And you know what? It's not a race. And it's certainly, and we'll get to it when we climb, but this 110 for the 343 is not about me at all. It's about remembering the men and the women who have died on 9/11, and for the FDNY members who have been lost and who are still, from 9/11 related cancer, still passing away. It's about remembering them and remembering their families, and just letting their families know that, you know what, no matter what comes, even 20 years later, we're not going to forget about the sacrifices that your family members made on that day.
Right on. It's a powerful, and again, we will talk about the 110 for 3 and get into the specifics of it. But I want to start with where I first met you, which was online, the 2020 style, through Justin Lorenzen and the training officer. And you are big into training, and you're also very big about training outside of your own department. I just want to let you talk about that for a minute and your philosophy on that.
Sure. So, there's a saying that's been going on in the fire service for quite some time. You can never train too much for a job that can kill you. And there's so much truth to that. But at the same time, you got to break this thing down to this whole training spectrum and what training is really about into your own department, your own shift, and the guys that you're on shift with. It is so important to train in-house with your own men and women. And Justin Lorenzen, I don't remember if it was on your scrap or whether it was something he put on the training officer Facebook page, but he said it was something to the effect of, when you train, you're going to fail and you're going to mess up, and it's okay.
Right on.
Because that's why we train.
That's why we train.
And so, exactly. It's exactly why we train. And so when you get out with your men and your women that you're on shift with within your own organization, and you train together, it exposes weaknesses. And I think that's what Justin was replying to. It exposes weaknesses. And that's okay, because every one of us, if you're humble enough as a firefighter, which you better be, because if you're not, there's something that will humble you that's a greater force than you are. It's okay to get humbled in that aspect of training, because it's okay for those people to see that, because when you're humbled, that should make you hungry. When you screw up on the training ground, that should make you hungry to be a better firefighter.
Love that.
So then you go to outside training. I get so pissed off with people who say, man, I don't want to go to outside training, because all it is, it's put on by big city firefighters. It's put on in big cities all the time. Man, come on.
Right.
You can go to so many trainings, and yeah, a lot of times those trainings are put on by big city firefighters in big cities, because they get a lot more work and a lot more fire duties than us small town guys do. But if you go there and you're humble and you walk in humility on the training ground, there is so much stuff that you can learn from all those trainings. And then if you're humble enough, you can take those trainings back and you can relate those trainings and put them into what your fire department is about. You know what? Not all of us have 10 or 15 rigs showing up on the fire ground for a residential structure. That's
Amen.
okay.
Amen.
But you know what? You can use bailouts. You can use search, vests, stretch and hose. There's so many ways to do all this different kind of stuff. Just go learn it and apply it to how your department can use it. Because one day when shit hits the fan,
right on,
you might relate back to that very training and something one of those guys said. So quit with the excuses. Train with your men and women, get off your ass and go to trainings outside of your organization, because not only do you get to learn some great training, take the Mid-America Fools Conference. That Friday of lectures was hands down one of the coolest things that I've ever got to be a part of. To hear those guys, there was 5 speakers,
yes.
Kurt in the morning, and then was there 4 again in the afternoon?
Yeah, Isaacson took the morning, and then the other 4 in the afternoon. Yeah, it was good.
So there was five guys total. Everybody hit on different spectrums of the fire service. Man, if I had my notebook in here with me, I think I've got like 15 pages of notes that I took from that day.
That is awesome.
It's good. You need to get that. But then also another thing that training does, you get to develop relationships too. And that's a huge thing in the fire service. Man, that's one of the coolest things. Besides training, just building those relationships is one of the coolest things.
No,
so
absolutely.
I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I love the soapbox. I want to say I'm gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna make a meme out of it. It's gonna say, "Quit with the excuses, get off your asses," and it's gonna be on a cool fire picture, and it's gonna say Firehouse Vigilance at the bottom and say Ljay Geist. Quit with the excuses, get off your asses. So
there you go.
All right, Tony Nunez has chimed in and said hashtag beast mode. I'm assuming he is talking to you. Gigi Galasso has chimed in with the fire truck. Tony Nunez says, train so you don't fail to train. And Hannah Elliott said Mid-America was awesome, with awesome in all caps for the emphasis. And I agree, man. It was a really good time. I got to meet both Hannah in person and LJ in person, and that was kind of the highlight of the day for me. And so it was awesome.
Yeah, Hannah's going to Florida, huh?
Yeah, she's going down to the benefit. Man, I just got back, and I really wanted to squeeze. I went last month. I'm going in February, and I really wanted to squeeze in December, but I just couldn't make it happen.
Sure.
So that's tough. 3 times in 3 months or so. You are a pretty passionate guy. I think that's a pretty safe assumption to make. And so, what are some keys for you staying engaged?
You know, I think that's something that I'm continually learning, because I think no matter how much you love this job, there will be those days to where you really wonder. I mean, if we want to be real, let's be honest here. Whether it could be that call, it could be your bosses, your company officers, your company bosses. You always wonder about things. But for me, we just talked about it, training. Man, here a couple of weeks ago, I was kind of in a foul mood. It's not that I was disliking the job or hating it, but I was kind of in a foul mood. And you know what I did? I went outside, I looked at the engine, and I was like, man, these tools look like crap. So guess what? I just started working on tools, and I did that for about 3 shifts in a row. So there's so many different things that you can do in the firehouse. Go work on tools. If you're irritated with something, or you're grumpy, or your attitude sucks, go grab one of the guys and go stretch hose. Go throw ladders. Call somebody, man. Call a mentor. Call somebody who in the fire service you've just fallen, in love with, I guess. I don't know how else to really say it.
Right.
But
no, believe me,
get a hold of that. Yeah, get a hold of that person and say, man, I'm struggling. Be humble about it. Be passionate about it. I need some help. What's some words of wisdom? Just speak some fire life into me. And so for me, I've just been fortunate that, I've got 4 or 5 guys in the fire service that I can call at any time or get a hold of. And, man, they just get me pumped up.
Breathe
and
that
so
oxygen,
that's yeah, exactly. And you talked about it on your oxygen, on your fire triangle. I mean, you got to have those people that just keep you engaged, and training's part of it. And that brotherhood, man, that's such a huge part of staying engaged.
Absolutely. I love that. And speaking of oxidizers, one of the best oxidizers in the business, Howard Reinwald, says, spit the drink, it's the new cool.
We just talked about that, Chief. Matter of fact, Curly and I just talked about that on our pre-warm-up game here. So that's awesome, man. Chief Reinwald, man, that is a dude that gets it.
Right.
He gets what being a leader is all about, and I have no doubt that guy's going to have the best culture in any fire department in North America going. He already does, but it's just going to keep getting better. So my hat's off to that man. What a good man.
Dude, everybody I've met that's around him, I'm just like so impressed, and it starts at the top. So we'll sit there and talk about you for a minute, Chief. Did you see the picture of him in his suit? It was very
man,
impressive.
I did. I did not.
I know, it was
I
great.
was expecting
Hats
that.
off. So yes. All right. Enough about Chief Reinwald. When I talk to you, there's a strong sense of attitude, and it's already come through in the answers you've already given. When I say attitude, I don't mean like chest out, walking through life with an attitude. I'm saying you have that mindset, or basically that outlook towards life of it is what you make of it. So is that just something you're born with, something you've learned, something you work on proactively? What's your take on that?
I was kind of thinking about that earlier today, and I want to fall back to I'm 38 years old, and I kind of want to fall back to my early 20s. When I was about 23 or 24 years old, I made the decision to start rodeoing.
Okay.
And I was a bullfighter, rodeo clown. And I can promise you, when you're out there with a 2,000-pound animal that has baseball bats sticking out of his head, you got 2 choices. You can either do the work or you can be a coward and run. And so that mindset of having to get in there, because that bull rider, if he falls off a bull and he starts getting hooked, you are the lifeline for that cowboy. It is your job to get in there and take the hooking. And it's a mindset. It's a 100% commitment. You can't half-ass get in there with a 2,000-pound bucking bull, okay? So that you've got to get in there and you got to get the job done. It's no different than being in the fire service.
Right on.
Your mental aspect, you've got to show up every day ready to go. And if you don't, there's something. If you get that call or that fire or that code blue or that car wreck, it takes one screw up and it can cost you your life, or it can cost one of your fellow firefighters their lives, and someone's not going home to their family the next day.
Right on.
So that attitude and that outlook and that mindset, not everybody's going to be 100% every single day. Let's be honest. We're human beings. We screw up. We mess up, and if there's anybody that's ever been on your show, I'll be the first to admit it, man. I can screw up worse than anybody in this world.
Join the club.
But you've got to have that mindset. Yeah, and so you got to have that mindset. It's freaking go time. There's no time to mess around. So you got to get in there and just go to work.
No, and the thing and the part that's such a seduction, or I don't even know the right words to say it, is that you can get away with it 99 times where you're not at the top, but it doesn't matter that 100th time, or insert the number. That's where the complacency, and that's very, very, very strong. Switching gears on you, I'm gonna move because this is my favorite topic. Period. If I had to pick a favorite topic, and I could talk about almost anything, we can rabbit hole almost anything, but I love leadership. I love discussing leadership. It's such a multifaceted topic, but safe to say you are a student of the topic, correct?
Absolutely.
Me and you had like a deep 30-minute rabbit hole discussion just from the short time we got to share a couple brews together. But here is an open-ended question for you to define. According to Ljay Geist, what is the essence of leadership?
There's about a 2 or 3 part answer to this question. I'll try to make it quick so I don't take up everybody's time. But
this is the funnest part. You can go anywhere direction you want.
For me, it's being humble. If you want to be a leader that is going to make an impact today and tomorrow and into the future of your organization, you have to be humble. So let's do humility. Let's just throw out the word humility, and then comma, you're either a leader or you're an asshole, but you can't be both.
Ooh, I like that.
You cannot be a leader and be an asshole at the same time. You can't be humble and be an asshole at the same time. You can't be. It's greed. It's arrogance. It's pride. You cannot let those things take over your assets and your skills of being a leader. So let's talk about what leadership isn't, and let's talk about discrimination. Leadership, it doesn't discriminate against age, because I try to tell my kids on their sports teams, you go out on the football field, you go out on the court, and you be a leader of your team. You be the hardest worker at every practice. It doesn't discriminate against race. It doesn't discriminate against your title or your position in your organization. It doesn't discriminate against any of that, because I can tell you, Corley, I've worked for firefighters who are hands down better leaders at their jobs as a firefighter than the company officers were on that shift. I've seen that in the fire service time and time and time again. Why? They were humble. They were passionate. They knew their shit. They wanted to train, and they gave a crap about the people they served with, and they damn sure gave a crap about the people they served. So if you want that leadership to kick in, man, just be humble. Let your ego go. Now, there's times when you're starting to chew somebody's ass that they're going to think, man, this guy's kind of an ass.
Right.
And that's okay. You have to step up to the plate, and you've got to be that leader. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying be soft. I'm not saying that by any means. But I can tell you, if you're a humble leader and you show up to the firehouse every day ready to lead and your attitude's good, you're going to have a following that's going to change the culture of your organization for generations to come.
I love that. Humility. Big capital, comma, don't be an asshole. Now, I sit there and I contemplate it. I say, can you be a leader and an asshole at the same time? Can you do it? And I'm sitting there contemplating in my head. I'm trying to come up with a situation where it works, and I really do like that a lot. I'm going to steal it from you. I hope you don't mind.
That's fine. And I think Mark Van Appen might have said something when he's on the scrap too about that, or maybe it's something he put on his page, but you seriously can't. You can't be a leader and an asshole at the same time. So just don't try it. Just be a good one.
No, I like it. And again, a book I always reference, which is Legacy, James Kerr, the lessons learned from the All Blacks. And one of their first lessons, either lesson 1 or lessons 2, is good people. It's don't be a dickhead, which same thing, don't be an asshole, which is, they're saying good people make good rugby players. And so good people make good firefighters. I love that, man.
That's good.
You got a lot of hell yeses. Yes, we got Howard Reinhold. I think he sent you 20 bullseye target emojis. Antonio Juan said humble with a heart. Tony Nunez said fire. I think people agreed with your interpretation of the essence of leadership. So very, very nice.
Man, you know what, Coy? You're right. Leadership is something that you can study for the rest of your life, and you will learn something new literally every single day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's the cool thing about that topic. And that's why I read books and look at, that's why I study leadership the way I do. Cause it goes so much beyond the walls of a firehouse, and how, I'm writing an article right now that I just, for whatever reason, called street level leadership.
Ooh, I like
and
that.
One of the things I put in there is how can my company officer expect me to show up to the firehouse and be a leader of some sort and lead on the fire ground, even though I'm not an officer, I'm a nozzleman, when I can't even lead my own home and my wife and kids. And so that's just something that I've put in there. If you can't lead in your private life, how can you lead in the life of the sector of a fire department, the firehouse, and the fire ground? It's impossible.
No, that's such a powerful lesson. And one of my heroes, Frank Friscuso, his a leader of one can be a leader of many, but if you can't lead one, you can't lead any. And if you can't lead yourself, man, you'll never be a leader. And I love his quote, and it's just right there with it. So that's awesome. I love these questions. Well, I even wrote this question to you of what's the essence of leadership? And I was like, what's my answer? What's my answer? What would I say? And of course, there's no single answer. We could sit here and go back and forth with multiple definitions of this is the essence and this is the essence, and trust, humility, relationships, and all these different things. And I would say it's caring more about your guys than you care about yourself. And then of course, in my own head, I go down rabbit holes and say, well, there's lots of guys who say, if you just care about your guys, you just let them do whatever they want. But the true definition of caring about your guys, making sure they know their jobs, making sure they know their district, making sure they're ready to take care of business. That is caring for your guys,
Yep.
So Philip Moore said fire life is a whole life commitment. And we've got J-Lo chiming in and said LJ is a solid dude. He gave you a fist bump and said, brother.
Dude, I love that guy.
Dude, there's no doubt. Philip Moore said, as a new officer, I love this stuff. So I want to ask you, have you, and this is just a personal opinion, so it's not quite 5 questions for firefighters time yet, but I'm asking you as a personal, have you been more impacted by bad leadership teaching you what not to do, or have you been one of the lucky few who's had good leadership mentor you in how to move forward? Which one's impacted LJ Geist more?
Man, Corl, I am so fortunate in that spectrum, is that I've had some solid leaders. Now, don't get me wrong. My first career department, I had a couple officers that, my God, you almost hated going in on shift some days because, number one, you never knew what kind of attitude they were going to show up with. No, it was just and thank God they retired and got out of there. But, man, I am so fortunate that I have had, and I'm even thinking well before my firefighter days, the leadership that I've had, some of the bosses that I've had, they just expect you to show up and go to work.
Right.
And so they didn't want excuses, and they didn't want the BS that goes along with it. Just show up and do what I ask you to, and I don't want to hear no crap from you. And so I've been very fortunate to have some straightforward leadership. So jump forward to the fire service. Besides just a couple, really not even a handful, just a couple of bad leaders, I've been so fortunate to have some great guys, and a couple of them a couple years ago in a town west of where I live at, they had some guys promote. They went through the whole promotional test and the interviews and with HR and bringing in firefighters and officers from other departments to interview these guys, and I got stuck, and I got to stay on this shift, and so I had a brand new captain and a brand new lieutenant on the shift, and that takes some balls from a chief to stick 2 brand new guys that are newly appointed company bosses on a shift together. I mean, let's face it takes some guts to do that as a chief. the chief must have seen something that he liked in these guys. And so our very first shift as a whole shift together, they took us in our classroom and they set us down and they told us our expectations of what, as company officers, right. We had breakfast that morning and we went in there and sat down and they handed us a paper that's about 4 or 5 pages long and they told us what they expected of us.
Dude, that's strong.
And you know what, Corey? There was no question ever what they expected of us. And here's the cool part. After we went through and they talked to us, their next question was, what do you guys expect from us?
Dude, see that? There you go.
And so fast forward a few months, these guys at the end of the year, we had double the amount of training hours than the other 2 shifts combined. What does that tell you as company officers, brand new dudes that are company officers? What does that tell you? They knew that their men were hungry and their men knew that they were hungry and that we together wanted to learn and be better as a shift. And man, I can tell you, there was one night we were out till like midnight at 12:30 flowing water out of our ladder truck because we wanted to see how much we could get out of the nozzle.
Squeeze out of it. Yes.
And stretching hose, I don't know how many thousands upon thousands of gallons of water we flowed stretching hose. And so to me, that is good leadership.
Oh, yeah.
That is what you want. And they never had to tell us in the mornings to go check our trucks. They never had to tell us to go do our weekly checks on our rigs. You know, they knew that we needed to get to work, and we knew that we needed to get to work, and there was no bullcrap or BS behind it.
Right.
There was no hidden gem. There was no hidden crap, man. It was just, dude, and those 2 guys, I can tell you this, Corley, those 2 guys, I would go to hell and back on a hose reel line with them boys that you pull off a brush rig to fight fire with them because they are just that solid of people. And so for good leadership, yeah, man, that's it.
That's a pretty solid compliment. So it's hard to knock. And I mean, like you said, you start with humility. If you start with humility and you come in with the expectations and then you stay consistent and you let your guys know that they are important and you will take care of them, then all the rest of the shit will take care of itself, man. If you can lock that in, basically what you laid out right there, then all the rest of it will take care of itself and you will have trouble reining those guys in when it comes to getting stuff done. And like you I love it, man. I love it. Okay. Philip Moore said, all day, my LT on Engine 4, St. Petersburg was Phil Whitman, an absolute stud and a servant. I had the privilege of a senior man named Neil Kumerer that was the epitome of what I want to be when I grow up. And that's what I'm talking about, man. That is awesome. Tony Nunez.
You know what?
Go ahead.
You know what 2 words I liked right there?
Which one?
He was a leader and he was a servant.
Servant. Yeah, it's hard to knock.
I love that word in the fire service, man. I love it. So go ahead.
No. I was just catching you up on the comments. We haven't got any questions thrown at you yet, but a lot of comments, which is good stuff to discuss. Tony Nunez, again, coming in. He says, unfortunately, bad leaders or bosses can teach you the most, especially on what not to do. Great leaders will be there to steer you in the right direction each time and better yourself. And I don't know if it's I think most people have more influence from bad bosses or bad leaders, however you want to put it. I think Mark Von Oppen called them dickheads because he's like...
He did.
Yeah. And I think that's the best definition of it. But yeah, I think most people have that experience more often than LJ's awesome experience with just great mentors. But I don't want to. That's not a de facto truth. That's my sense of it, the sense I get. Any thoughts?
No, man. And you know, in our line of work, you just hate to see that because. You put it up on your Firehouse Vigilance discussion about the Smith and Jones, about the senior firefighter who had the new recruit coming in, and you had the two answers from the captain, from the company boss. Yeah, go out and train, or his second answer was no, don't be taking any crap off the rig.
Right.
And so you hate to see that because let's just put it this way: whether you're a department that holds an academy and you have brand new recruits coming out of the academy on the floor, whether you're a department like mine that doesn't have an academy, it doesn't matter. The first time that a brand new person shows up in your firehouse, you've got 24 hours to make an impression on that person. Literally, you have 24 hours to make an impression. And so you're either going to be realized that this guy doesn't give a shit about the job, or you're going to be an officer or a senior man or whatever that makes an impact on this person. And I know what I'm going to do, but unfortunately, there's those people that they don't have that luck, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. They don't have that luck of getting into a firehouse where people care. Right. They want to train. They just assume the new boy or new girl go out and clean bathrooms and
sweep floors and make coffee.
Station. Yeah, for the first day of the shift, when all reality, that shit can wait until 8:00 at night, and they better be out in their district pulling hose up to doors and throwing ladders.
Hell yes.
So
hell yes.
That's my opinion, and I just, man, we run so many people so quick when the leadership is not there. It's a sad thing in our culture.
And I want to be clear. I love when a rookie can make a good pot of coffee, and when a rookie knows to go clean, and I like sparkling toilets. But if he's ever scrubbing a toilet and does not know how to pull your pre-connect, then there is an issue with the priorities in your department. So,
yep, agreed.
Let's see. LJ, J-Lo's chiming in at you. He said, LJ, elaborate on when you have a vision to work for a department that requires you to move your family. Does that make sense?
Damn.
Okay.
Pass. Love you, J-Lo.
There it is. Hannah's going to hit you. Hannah, the question asker of the scrap, said, LJ, what are your thoughts on the need for realistic, challenging fire training within the fire service?
Oh man, it's not every department can afford a training tower or training Connex boxes and all that. But for the departments that can't afford that stuff or doesn't have the luxurious of being able to go to a training tower and do stuff, man, there's so many doors and so many places you can go stretch hose and go do stuff at, and you can't let quote unquote realistic training go out the window when you don't have all the cool training props that a lot of big cities have. You need to make work what you have, and you need to enjoy doing it as a shift. I mean, I don't know how else to really answer that question, to be honest with you. You got to make do with what you have.
Dude, I love it.
I mean, it's just plain and simple. That's what you have to do. And if you have a wrecker service that has tons of cars out there, call them and have them drop off a car at your place and cut the shit out of that thing. And don't just cut a car up to do it. You need to make a scene out of it so it's real life.
Cut it up with a purpose, yes.
Yeah, don't go pull hose at a commercial structure at 9:00 at night just to go pull a hose. Do it with a purpose. And so that's really what you have to do. And know your district too. I mean, there's nothing better than going out on a rig and just looking at buildings and houses. We just did that a couple months ago here. We went and stepped off like 5 houses. They were all our houses off my shift. We went and stepped out several houses to see what the lay was from where we parked the engine to our front doors and back doors and everything. So that's, if you want to get realistic, you can just get out in your district. You go have some fun.
No. And I love what you said about, man, to make do with what you have. And so we always say, we're firefighters. We adapt and we overcome. That's what we do. Someone calls 911 with an emergency. We show up. We fix the problem. Some way, shape, or form. It may be we save the slab and that's how we fix the problem. But we fix the problem. And so the problem right now is getting realistic training. And it's a mindset. I'll go right back to like question number 3 that we talked about. It's that mindset and that attitude of we're going to adapt and overcome the fact that we can't have, just a rock and roll and training fire each and every shift in this badass training tower. And we're going to adapt. Yep. We're going to overcome. And I love the fact that you stepped off houses. A big thing I've been preaching and talking about is when you make an EMS call at a house, when you step off the rig, it's a lower level of consciousness call, and you're going in there and it's not a real high priority type deal, and you're coming off the rig, when you look at that, you're walking up to the front door and you're carrying the medical and you're carrying the O2, you could be sitting there going, okay, that's a bathroom window. That's going to be the hallway. There's going to be 2 bedrooms back there. There's going to be a kitchen out there. That's going to be and you can actually do that while you're walking up. And then when you get inside and you start doing the patient care, you can look around and say, oh, I batted like a 750 on that one. That wasn't too bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's such a great chance to do a walkthrough, especially if it comes from the officer. But go ahead. Sorry, I'm preaching now. But go ahead.
No, you're fine. You actually just stole one. You actually just stole some of my answer from one of your 5 questions for firefighters. So we'll hit on that in a little bit.
I like it. Okay, we'll save it for later. I'm sorry. I don't mean to take your thunder.
Good.
That's the opposite of what I want to do. Garrett Sharp said, how have you motivated the unmotivated, especially as a firefighter trying to motivate soon-to-be retired officers or drivers? Holy crap, that's a loaded one right there. So,
man, he had to hammer you with that question.
No doubt.
That's oh my gosh. I think that's something that a lot of the fire service is trying to figure out. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I wish that Garrett, was his name correct?
Garrett Sharp.
Okay, Garrett Sharp. Yeah, he's okay. I thought you said Sharp. That's a buddy of mine that I graduated school with. He was a year younger than me out in western Kansas. He's a firefighter up in the Dakotas now. Man, you know what? You just got to show up and just be passionate. And you know what? I guess I can't answer this question. So when I was with Andover Fire, we had a captain that he didn't much care for working out or training physically, however you want to put that. And a good buddy of mine, Stephen Cullinane, and I were on shift this before Stephen got promoted. And we did 2-a-days in the spring, summer, and fall. And a lot of times our second workouts were just body weight, wall ball, stuff like that. And before I knew it, Steve and I were out there doing it. Then we had 3 guys out there doing it. Then we had our lieutenant out there doing it. And then I'll be damned if our captain came out there and started doing it with us on occasion.
Awesome.
We never were arrogant about going out and doing it. We didn't walk around the firehouse. Hey, we're going to get another workout in so we can be prepared for our people we serve. It wasn't none of that crap. We just went out there and just did the work. And I think the captain was looking out at the window in the bay, seeing us smile and having fun and encouraging each other. Guess who showed up and started doing burpees with us and just started, and then he was encouraging us and we were encouraging him. So if I can answer that question, stay humble, be passionate about your job, ask him what he loves about the fire service the most.
Oh, I love that.
Start asking those questions. Hey, man, hey, Cap, man, you've been on the job for 28 years. What was it like when you were a rookie compared to what it's like with rookies you see coming through now? Hey, Cap, what was the most badass fire you ever been on? Hey, Cap, if you could tell me one thing as a rookie or as a 5-year man and you've been on the job for 30 years, what would you tell me to ensure that I love this job as much as I do now as when I'm in your seat?
Right on.
Because is what happens is you're turning that captain into, oh my God, I've got 208 days left until retirement. Now you're turning it into, man, he goes home to his wife and he's like, man, I got this new kid on my shift and he's always asking me the questions of what do you love about the job? And so you're kind of doing a reverse psychology on him almost. And so just stay engaged, man, and just and don't let that company officer who's in that situation, don't completely throw him under the bus because he needs a young recruit that's passionate to maybe help him out. So if I could answer, that's how I'd answer.
Dude, it's a beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. I want to tack on to it just for a second because this is something I've been. It's a mantra of mine recently, which is you can be right or you can be effective, and being right doesn't necessarily is not the same as doing the right thing. You always do the right thing, okay? But being right is when you acknowledge that you're right, that captain's wrong, right? That's not what it's about. You want to be effective. And so when you can balance those two and kind of, it goes back to humility and get your ego out of the way where you don't have to be right. You're just effective and you can get him bought in just a little bit and take those small victories and they can lead to big victories.
Yep.
So
I love it.
I like that's one of my current mantras is that whole right versus effective thing. And it has nothing to do with doing the right thing, because that's a given. But being right is about the ego. Yep. So anyway, Philip Moore chimed in. He said, absolutely. If they know the order, sorry, get out of here. My computer. Absolutely. If they know the order form for supplies and not what is on my engine, it is a problem, which is going back to the making coffee. Yep. Philip Moore said, how do you overcome a toxic training division that wants you to not be seen or heard from when you are not on a call? Dude, these are some hard balls. These are some fastballs coming down the pipe at you. It's like, if we knew the answers to this, we'd have a bestseller, I promise you. But go ahead. It's a good discussion.
So can you repeat that? Can you repeat the training division question again? I'm sorry, Corey. I want to make sure that I understand it.
How do you overcome a toxic training division that wants you to not be seen or heard from unless you're on a call?
He's probably not going to want to know how I'm going to answer this question. You start looking for badass fire departments that have openings, and you go put your application in with them. That's how you do that. I mean, and I hate to be like that, but for crying out loud, how can you serve a department? How can a chief have a training division underneath him that wants his people to be quiet and not be heard or seen? I don't know, Corley. That's crazy to me. I don't understand that, because our citizens, the people that we serve, the people that pay our tax dollars and allow us to have bunker gear and ride out in those engines and those ladder trucks and everything, they deserve the best from us. 100%. And guess what that takes? It takes freaking training. That's exactly, I don't know. That guy, man, all I can tell you is good luck, buddy, because I don't even know how to answer that question. That's a killer of culture right there.
That is a culture killer. And no, there is no doubt about it.
Holy cow.
There is no doubt about it. And I'm not trying to dodge the question, neither is LJ. That is a tough question. If you are stuck in a position where your training division wants you to disappear, then you are in a bad position. And I will go, and we've already talked about Mark Von Oppen a couple times today, and that's a bad culture. And culture change does not come about in a short time frame at all. And one of my favorite quotes is, culture change is a war of attrition, not a shock and awe campaign. So stay the course, do what's right, take your small victories, and that's really, unless you're willing to uproot and move to a different department, that's your only options that I know of.
Yep.
Here's another one. I mean, they are coming right down the pipe at you. So Garrett Toe said, I recently asked my LT about stretching lines on smells and bells just to get real world reps, but was told that we can't take the engine out of service. None of my reasons made any difference. What is the next best way to get realistic reps?
Man, oh my gosh, these guys they're throwing some curveballs at us.
They are, dude. These are okay. They're challenging you.
Man, just keep plugging away at him. Just keep plugging away. Just whatever you do, man, don't throw them. I know I've said this already. Don't throw them underneath the bus. Don't be cocky. Just keep the passion. Hopefully you have some other guys on your shift that are passionate as this guy is. Just keep plugging away. I mean, that's all I can tell you. Gosh dang, man, that's a rough one too. I hate that for that guy, because it sounds like he's wanting to make a difference.
Right.
And so that's a tough one. But man, just keep plugging away. Stay humble. Keep plugging away. Hopefully, you have some other guys on your shift or your department that's trying to make a difference.
Right.
Whatever you do, stay hip to hip with them guys, with the passionate ones, because eventually, passion and love for our craft, it will drown out the dislike and the unpassionate very quickly.
And your example will be contagious.
It will be. So, man, hey, just keep plugging away, guy. Don't give up. Don't give up this craft, because it's great, man. I'm sorry to hear that from you.
And if he won't let you stretch on smells and bells, which I mean, that sucks. But you get back to the pad, and if he still won't let you stretch off the rig back at the station because he doesn't want to take the rig out of service, then grab a couple rolls of spare hose and stretch off the hydrant, man. Our man Jeremy Sanders has a whole lot of drills he does coming off of a hydrant. and just practicing and moving. And so, I mean, he cannot tell you can't stretch off. I mean, I guess he can, but at some point, someone's going to step in and say, no, this kid can do this. So, all right. Hannah Elliott said burpees, exclamation point. Talk about the challenge, LJ.
Oh, yeah, John Sparrow.
Yeah.
You know, John's been on your show. That dude, John Sparrow is he's the burpee king.
He is, no doubt, dude.
There's no doubt when, you know, John Sparrow thinks about burpees, and there is no doubt that burpees think about John Sparrow. I mean, hands down. But yeah, you know, John, he challenged on his personal Facebook page and his Fit for Fire.
3,000 burpees.
You know, 3,000 burpees this month, and Hannah set up a Facebook page with a whole bunch of us, and so we're doing it. So, yeah, man, burpees, I love them. They're the ultimate equalizer.
Doesn't matter.
And it's all mental game, man. I love it. So,
Chris Red has chimed in and said, let your passion be addictive. Remind them what it felt like on their first day or year. And that is good, man. If you can start a conversation with them and get them thinking in those lines, it may not happen on the first conversation, but maybe on the 10th or 15th, maybe they'll start getting that spark fired back up. Gary Geist, I'm not sure if it's related. Another word.
That's my mom.
There you go. Another word about positive leadership. Now we know where you got it from. There is nothing that sours the workday like working a job where the leadership is bad and company morale is caustic. It affects the whole company. Likewise, good, positive leadership empowers individuals and affects the morale of the entire company. I know where you got it from now.
Dude, my mom, she's a rock, man.
Hannah Elliott says, I talked to Corley about this briefly, but I have had a thought recently that you have to protect your passion for the job. I think it requires first realizing the value of passion and then recognizing the wear and tear of friction and negativity. No, this was a really good conversation we had. And go ahead, man. If you got, I'll listen to you and I'll give my 2 cents.
Oh, protecting the passion, huh?
Yes.
Man, that's all about just loving the job and just showing up ready to go, man. That's about to me, it's just about going in and throwing your gear on the rig and checking your pack every morning and just starting the day off right. I mean, there's nothing more that I have a passion for than literally throwing my coat on the handle, going up in the back seat, grabbing my mask out of my bag and checking my pack every morning because I know it's go time. You know, I got 24 hours of go time. And for me, that's just the way that I protect my passion, I guess. And I'm fortunate enough to have a captain and a guy on my shift right now that I'm at my house with that we're always talking about scenarios. We're always talking about different things. And I'm just fortunate to have been surrounded by some great people that help keep my passion up. And you know, we talked about it outside a little bit ago with outside training, man. It's about building those relationships
100%.
And surrounding yourself with people who give a shit about this job.
Yes, the gas meter. I love that.
Yeah. So that will, if you want to protect your passion, surround yourself with like-minded people and surround yourself with people who force you to do better too.
Oh, 100%. And do like LJ does and do like Hannah does and get to those conferences, get to those outside sources.
Yep.
Get to those classes, get to those trainings. So 100%. I love that. I love that. If you are watching this live and you see LJ's face creep off the bottom, and I'll come and grab it and I'll pull it back up and then he'll go off the top. So he's moving around. I'm fighting to keep him framed and it's a fun game. So just know that we're working on it. So
sorry, man.
No, you're good. It's funny because I look over because I'm not observant and I'm talking to you over here. And then I look over and I see that it's just your eyes talking to me. And I'm like, oh crap, I got to frame him up better.
I just don't want my phone to die. I bet it's about charged now. I bet we'd be okay. But.
No, you're good. You're good. It's just I want people to know why I'm moving you around, and I just want them to know. The training officer said rope bag, knots every 50 feet. Stretch that during your walkthrough. Dude, I love rope bags. I love rope bags just for just doing estimated stretches. Yes, 100%.
That's awesome. That's a new one. That's, yeah.
Dude, we had a rope bag with the carabiners, and they were the exact same length as our pre-connects, and we went to a lot of our garden-style apartments, and we would just go and say, can we get up there? And it's not 100% because you lose some of the play, but you will know that, hey, our pre-connect will get us to this third-floor landing right here with a 50-foot section to go. You know what I'm saying? It's great. It's great
That's
knowledge.
great, man.
And there's certain things where we're like, there's no way our pre-connect gets us there. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, we can do this. So anyway, Paco Corlin said, LJ, what's up, brother?
Man, that's a good dude. Yeah, he's with Aurora, Colorado now, and he's on the Firefighter Combat Challenge team with Aurora Fire. And man, him and Louis Disney and a couple guys are making waves. So yeah, Paco, hey man, what's up? He's a solid dude, one of the most humble dudes you'd ever meet. So
awesome,
good guy.
And Stephen Colonane,
that's my boy right there.
He said, I'm moving that pic so we can see that stash. So he actually clued in on what I was actually doing. So 100%. All right. LJ, I love asking this question, which is, do you have book? Oh, I didn't even get to family. But I'm moving on to book and books. Do you have a book or books that you think firefighters should be reading?
Hands down for me, this is a no-brainer. Jared Surge's No Nonsense Leadership, man. That book, I could not put that book down when I got it. I actually won that book from him, and that when I got that book, I just kind of opened up the first couple pages, see what it was going to be about, and I never put it down. And the thing that I liked about that book, it's not a bunch of BS psychological doctorate reading material. It is straightforward firefighter stuff.
Right on.
And to me, I wish I had that book here. It's actually, I think Stephen Colony just chimed in, maybe just finished reading here a while back, and it might be with another company officer over
pass
there.
It around.
Because in my opinion, it's a book that everybody from recruit to chiefs need to read.
No, it's solid.
Because it is so, yeah, you're right. It's so solid. It's so straightforward. But, one of the things that I appreciated that he said was talking about getting new recruits into his house. And one of the things he said, he goes right out of the bat, they get a challenge going, you get a company T-shirt, and we sit down around the round table and drink coffee, and we talk to them, and we teach them their expectations. And to me, man, I guess it related to me because I had that same experience with my company officers over there. But I don't know. That book is great. I'm a pretty big John Gordon fan as well. The Power of Positive Leadership, The Power of Positive Team Leadership. Both those books are outstanding books. So I think for 3 books that have affected me here in the past couple of years, those would definitely be the 3 for me.
So Jared Surge's No Nonsense Leadership. And Gordon's The Power. What'd you say?
John Gordon.
Right.
The Power of Positive Leadership, which you need to read that first, and then you need to order The Power of Positive Team Leadership.
Okay. I like it. I'll add it. If I ever update the reading list, I promise those will make it on there. Right now I'm stuck in the 30s, and I got to get some time and make it happen. So, awesome, man. So, we have a thing called the 5 Questions for Firefighters on the weekly scrap. And it is 5 questions that have evolved over time, but they've been pretty solid for the last 30 episodes or so. And the last kind of change to it was wording on searchable space versus tenable space. And that was thanks
Chief Ron Walt.
Right on. So, the points are arbitrary. It's all about your opinion. And LJ Geist, are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters?
Let's roll. Send it.
Here we go. I like the send it. That's also Ryan Walt. Now that's going to be a thing, I think. What is the number one issue facing the modern fire service, according to LJ Geist?
I have 2 of them, really. The first one you kind of hit on a little bit earlier, but I'm going to say training, and here's what I mean by that. So every one of us, if we're honest, is guilty about this, but we have people, and we've done it ourselves, that complain, I better not say the other word, about medical calls or alarms, general fire alarms. So how many times do we show up to a medical call when we're pissed off and it's 3:00 in the afternoon? We'd rather be at the training tower pulling hose or throwing ladders or cutting a car or something. And we go do this medical and we do our job as servants and serve this person. We get back on the engine and we take off. Yep. When we had the very chance of turning a medical call into a fire training situation. we get, every one of us can get that every day.
1,000%.
Because I live in a crazy cool town that has some of the neatest establishments and buildings and houses that have been turned into multifamily dwellings. So we've got the opportunity every day to turn those low acuity calls into something really cool, especially when you have a new person riding on your regular. Maybe he's got switched districts.
100%.
So for me, that's one of the things. And then number two, why do we hire people that we hire? And I'm not a chief, and I've never been on a hiring process, but are we hiring people because they scored a 98% on a test? Or are we hiring people that when they come interview for us, you can tell that they are passionate and they give a shit about serving people? I can tell you right now, I would rather go to a structure fire or go to a medical call or go cut a car up and get somebody out with people who are C+ students who give a shit about life and give a crap about people, rather than going to one of those calls with a 4.0 grade point average kid who has zero work ethic and could give a shit less about what he's doing.
Dude,
so
yes.
So are we training with the right purpose, and are we hiring for the right purpose? Those are my two answers to that question.
I'm not sure if it's possible, but you just got better than max points on the question. Answer to question number 1, dude. That is 100%. Dude, that was a great answer. So, moving on to question number 2. I think you set the bar too high on 1, so we'll see how it goes from here. What is the thing you are most excited about for the future of firefighting?
Training. Dude, you and I are fortunate to live in the area of the country we live in, because if you come up here to Wichita, they got Wichita Hot, and if you've never been to Wichita Hot, you've got to come to Wichita Hot, because it is so amazing, and it fills up in like 10 minutes.
Oh, there's no doubt.
But we got the Scott Kleinschmidts, the Stephen Runyons, we got these dudes, Isaac Frazier's. These dudes are solid people. So then you go down to Oklahoma City, Midwest City, with the Mid-America Fools Conference and some of the badass training that we had down there. Then you go clear down into Texas with the Chief Reinwaltz and the Kyle Romegas, is how do you say his last name?
Romegas, yes.
And then if you want to make, you can go up to Colorado and go to the Mile High Fools Conference, or Kansas City and all that. So, man, you can't have an excuse of I don't have time to go train because it's too far away, because it's happening everywhere, and there is some top-notch quality training. And even with COVID right now, there are some great podcasts and lectures that you can get on, and you might have to pay $5 or $10 or $20 for them. But you know what? If that means learning something, then do it. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. So, man, the training, I honestly think, Corley, we're at the very beginning stages of training that it's just gonna multiply, and it's gonna be awesome, man. I'm stoked about some of the training coming up.
Absolutely. And Tony Nunez said Florida with an exclamation point. He didn't want to be left out, because there's no doubt about it, man. But yes,
I got to get to that.
Dude, I had so much fun last month in November. It was great. I cannot wait to go back. I wish I was. I'm so mad I didn't go to the benefit conference. Sorry, I don't want to. I got to stay focused. Best rank, number 3. Best rank or position to hold in the fire service?
Oh, without a doubt, backseat. I've been pretty fortunate. I had some company officers that trusted me to ride in the officer seat a little bit. When you do that, it's a whole new mental perspective of how you think about your crew and your shift and your guys. The first time I ever got the opportunity to do it, I didn't even enjoy being on shift that day, because I was going through so many scenarios. It's one of those things. But man, to me, the back seat of an engine, I love hose work, and there's nothing more fun than bailing off an engine and grabbing the hose and going where your company boss tells you to go. It's that to me, that's the best job in the world.
I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that.
It's the third best job in the world. Being a husband and a father is the 2 best, and then being a hoseman on the back seat's the 3rd best. So yeah, let's get the priority straight here.
But it is the best in the fire service,
hands down. Yes, sir.
All right. I cannot argue with that. I cannot argue with the logic. And no, question number 4: best advice you have ever received?
Oh, Corley, you're going to hit me in the feelers in this one, guy.
Okay.
So let's go back to 2009 when my son Porter was born. And this would have been Somewhere around the March 15th, 2009 timeframe. We got Porter home from the hospital, and I'm scared shitless, and my wife's sore because we had to have an emergency C-section. All that's going on. And
was this first kid? I'm asking for. Is this first kid?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
okay.
First kid. Yep. So all the grandparents are down, and my dad said, "Hey son, let's go out on the porch and have a beer together," which kind of threw me for a loop because he never said that to me ever growing up. So.
Okay.
We're out on the front porch and we're sitting there visiting a little bit. And he said, "Son, what's it like being a dad?" And I'm like, "Good Lord, I've been a dad for 3 days and I'm scared." But he said, "I want to give you a piece of advice." And it was the coolest advice ever. And because it's life in general. But he said to me, he said, "Son," he said, "now that you're a father," he said, "it is your job to be a father figure to every kid that you come in contact with, and every kid that your kids come in contact with." And now that I think about that, and now that I'm in the fire service, it's our job as dads to love people and to love kids. And it's almost turned a full fulcrum for me because within a 2-block radius of our house is the hangout for kids. I mean, we have kids over here all the time, and all these kids, I coach them in football and basketball and baseball and all this. And so, and then now that I'm in the fire service, all the public education we do and going to schools and different things and going to calls, it's just about loving people, man. And it's all falling back on what life is all about. It's about relationships and about loving people. And it's about what was his, Sean, he was your guest 2 or 3 guests ago. Sean Duffy said, it's what his dad told him. It all falls back to the same thing. It's not our job to judge people. It's our job to serve people.
Hell yeah.
The same spectrum. It's our job to love people and just to be the father figure to people. So, man, that's for me. And my dad passed away in 2014. So that's, to me, that hits home.
Right in the feelers, like you said, dude. Yeah. Of course. I mean, like it matters. Max points. That was a unbelievably good answer for best advice ever. Which leads to question number 5. Heavy fire and searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
I know, and I'm going to catch some flack about this one, but
okay.
Dude, I'm on the nozzle. Yep, you guys. I'll go start laying fire out, and you guys get in there and do what you need to do with whoever's on the truck company or ladder or whoever might be extra on the engine or whatever. But dude, I'm telling you, man, I absolutely love hose work and engine work. So for me, and I know it's all about life and it's all about saving life, but I believe you can put fire out and be able to save life at the same time. So that's what it is for me.
I love it. Dude, I love the nozzle. So you're never going to go wrong going nozzle. And you're never going to go wrong. That's why it's such a great question. I love closing with number 5. And there is no right answer for it. So you get max points for being passionate about it. So there it is. The 5 questions for firefighters according to Ljay Geist. Good job, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Best place to contact you if people want to get in touch with you, get to know you, reach out to you.
Man, you can look me up here on Facebook, Ljay, Geist, Geist. Man, you can check out 110 for the 343 on Facebook, or I guess you can just type my name on Instagram too. Check me out. I don't know what my username is on that, but anyways, yeah, if you have any questions or, I kind of want to close with how Chief Isaacson closed down in Midwest City, but man, if you ran some tough calls, you're going through a difficult time with family or suicide or anything's ever crossed your mind, man, get a hold of us. Get a hold of Corley.
100%.
Man, it's you're on this earth for a purpose, and so man, get a hold of me. We'll talk. I don't care if it's 2:00 in the morning and I'm on shift. If I'm on a call, I'd probably answer my phone and talk you through whatever. So yeah, if you just need motivated because you're down and out in the fire service, man, give me a call. But yeah, look me up if you need anything.
I love it, brother. I love it. And I will second that 100%. If you need me, LJ, and you can look through the people who've commented on here, and I'm sure all of them will chime in and say, reach out to me if you need it. So,
yep.
1,000%. House cleaning next week. Mike Heaney is coming up. It's going to be a fun time. After that, Mr. Fire Engineering, Bobby Halton. a few days. December is packed and loaded. I'm not going to lie here for the scrap. Scott Thompson, he is coming in. I had the book laying out, but I was reading it earlier. But we are doing nothing but dissecting the Marines book on learning that came out this year. And then Walter Lewis out of Miami. David Hinojosa. I'm going to butcher his name every time, and he's going to punch me in the throat. But it's a packed December leading into 2021. So other than that, that's it for Weekly Scrap number 61. It is in the books. LJ, it was a wonderful conversation with you, my friend.
Hey, thanks, man. What an honor it was, and thank you so much for the opportunity, Corley. And, man, I respect your friendship and your brotherhood, and just keep going with what you got going, man. It's you got a great thing going here, and I'm beyond humbled to be a guest on this powerful show.
Believe me, and I say this every time, I'm blown away by the quality of people I get to have conversations with, you included. And so to everybody that tuned in, thank you for the questions, the comments. You guys are what makes the scrap different and fun and dynamic. Believe me, when you throw those hard balls right down the pipe, and we try to field them. But other than that, I hope the tone stays silent. Unless it's burning, everybody stay safe out there. Thank you, LJ.
Thanks, sir. See you later.